Imagine a peaceful evening, a routine check-in on a family. But then, the unimaginable happens. 5 lives are lost in a horrific tragedy in Ohio. What could have possibly led to this devastating loss? As investigators piece together the evidence,
Noticed some things were just not quite right.
shocking new details are emerging, and the story behind the Dunham family's deaths is anything but ordinary. You might be wondering, what truly happened in that Uniontown home? Was it a simple case of a tragic murder-suicide, or is there more to this than meets the eye? Stick around, because what you're about to discover will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about this case. The initial police reports pointed to a murder-suicide, but as more information comes to light, the situation becomes far more complex. Today, we'll explore the latest updates on the tragedy, shedding light on the investigation, and asking what it all means for the community and the surviving relatives.
And that's what we loved about them. They were all just different in a great, special way.
The sun's just starting to set, and the usual hum of suburban life fills the air. But this evening is about to take a dark turn that no one saw coming. At exactly 7:30 p.m., the local police department gets a call. It's a wellness check. Nothing out of the ordinary at first, just someone concerned about a family not answering their phone. But when officers arrive at the home, things take a chilling twist. Inside the Dunham residence, the officers discover 5 bodies. Jason Dunham and his wife, Melissa, are found alongside their children, Renee, Amber, and young Evan. Each victim has suffered fatal injuries. It's a scene so horrific, it leaves investigators stunned. The police immediately label it a murder-suicide, but as you might expect, the more they look into it, the more questions arise. You might be wondering, how could something like this happen? What pushed a father to take such drastic measures? Was it something that built up over time, or a sudden tragedy? But here's the twist. While authorities have confirmed the deaths as a murder,
So a vigil to remember the Dunham family is set to start here at 7 p.m.
Family was involved in a quadruple murder-suicide.
many in the community are asking, is there more to the story? Could this truly be the whole truth? Now take a moment to think about it. 5 lives taken, and no one knows why. Authorities are quick to assure the public that there were no other individuals involved.
Blessed to know the kids from the beginning and since they were babies till now. It's just heartbreaking.
Very, very good in helping the community.
They were a wonderful family. We felt like they were.
But even in a small town like Uniontown, whispers start to spread. People want answers, and they want them fast. What happened behind those closed doors? What dark secret might have led to this unfathomable act? At this point, the investigation is in full swing. Police comb through every inch of the house for clues, while the community is left reeling, trying to make sense of the unimaginable. They say that murder-suicides are rare.
They had fun. They had girlfriends. They had friends. They were in programs. They were in swimming programs. They were in Girl Scouts. The little boy went to Minecraft this summer.
But this one feels different. Something doesn't add up. The official response from the police is calm, almost routine. No foul play beyond the immediate family. But the more we learn, the more the question lingers. Was this the whole story? Was there something bigger at play? Uniontown, Ohio, a quiet community just south of Akron. For many who live here, it's the type of place where everyone knows everyone, and life unfolds at a calm pace. The Dunham family was no exception. Jason, Melissa, and their 3 children, Renee, Amber, and Evan, had been a fixture in the neighborhood. On the surface, they appeared to live a typical suburban life, but as we know, appearances can be deceiving. Neighbors who knew the Dunhams described them as nice people.
They were your typical good, loving kids.
Edmund Gadzako, a local resident, described Jason and Melissa as pleasant to talk to.
We have a very tight-knit, faith-based community. We're going to lean on that and lean on our folks to love on one another and take care of each other.
But this is where things start to get a little more complicated. Despite the outward appearance of a loving family, there were subtle signs that things were not always perfect behind closed doors. Jason Dunham was reportedly a controlling figure in the household. According to multiple sources, he had a reputation for being strict and authoritative, particularly when it came to his children. While this may not seem out of the ordinary for some families, the neighbors' observations suggest that his controlling nature might have extended into other areas of family life, leaving some to wonder about the dynamics at play. Melissa, on the other hand, was viewed very differently. She was known for being a devoted mother, always putting her children's needs first. People in the neighborhood remembered her as warm and kind-hearted. But this stark contrast between Jason's more dominant personality and Melissa's nurturing demeanor paints a picture of a complicated family dynamic, one that many people in the community never fully understood. Now, imagine how shocking it must have been for the people who knew them when news of the tragedy broke. The neighborhood was left in disbelief. How could a family so familiar, so close to home, be torn apart in such a violent and tragic way? People had a hard time reconciling the image of the Dunhams they had in their minds with the horror of what had happened. The community's reaction to the deaths was one of profound shock and disbelief. No one had suspected that anything was wrong. There had been no visible signs of violence or dysfunction, and certainly no warnings of the dark turn the family's story would take. What happened in that house that night still remains a mystery. But one thing is clear: this tragedy rocked the Uniontown community to its core. In Uniontown, Ohio, the shockwaves of the Dunham family's tragedy were felt far beyond their home. The deaths of Jason, Melissa, and their 3 children, Renee, Amber, and Evan, rippled through the local community, leaving a profound impact on the people who knew them. The tragic event touched every corner of their lives, from their neighbors to the local school district. The Lake Local School District, where the children attended school, was one of the first to feel the weight of this loss. 3 of the victims, Renee, Amber, and Evan, were students at the district. The school district's response was swift. Within hours, Superintendent Kevin Tobin and other administrators began meeting with counselors to provide support to students and staff. Their immediate priority was to ensure that the community had the support it needed to cope with the tragedy. Renee, the oldest child at 15, was especially well known at the school. She was an active member of the school band, and her absence was felt deeply by her friends and bandmates. She was scheduled to perform at a football game the very night after the discovery of the bodies.
The oldest, she loved to come to practice, and when she'd come in, her favorite thing to do would be to write my workouts on the board, so I knew she...
Can you imagine the emotions her friends and teachers must have felt, knowing she was supposed to be there, playing the music that once filled the halls with joy? This was not just the loss of a student, but the loss of a vibrant part of the school community. The impact of the tragedy didn't stop with the students. School officials recalled another sorrowful memory from nearly 2 years ago, when the school had to grieve the loss of another young student after a surgery. This second heartbreaking event served as a painful reminder of the community's vulnerability to loss. The grief was overwhelming, and the timing seemed almost too much to bear. 2 years later, a family, including 3 children, was taken in an equally shocking and senseless manner. Imagine being part of this close-knit community, knowing that just a few days ago, this family was there, living their lives like everyone else. The loss of 3 students, each so full of promise and potential, created an emotional devastation that no one was prepared for. As the news spread, more memories of the Dunham family began to surface. They were remembered not only for their involvement in school activities like the band, but also for their active participation in community events. Melissa was a prominent figure in local organizations such as Girl Scouts, and Jason was involved in business development within the area. They weren't just neighbors, they were pillars of their community. It's almost impossible to comprehend the emotional toll on those closest to them. Neighbors like Edmund and Denise Gadzacco, who had known the Dunhams for years, shared their shock. Edmund recalled the Dunhams as nice people, but Denise described Jason as controlling at times. Still, they were the kind of neighbors you could count on for a friendly chat, and their children often played together. This tragedy left their quiet neighborhood reeling, with families wondering how something so tragic could happen so close to home. To top it all off, this wasn't just a shock to Uniontown. Across the country, murder-suicides involving families have become a tragic recurring story. Just a week before the Dunham family was found dead, a similar event unfolded in Oklahoma City. Family annihilations, as these events are known, have been on the rise across the U.S., a growing crisis that leaves communities shattered. Uniontown was just the latest community to experience such an event, but the scars will last for years to come. What do you think? Was this an unthinkable breakdown of family dynamics, or was there something else brewing beneath the surface? Could this tragedy have been avoided? As the investigation continues, the haunting questions linger. What happened in the moments leading up to that horrific night? When a tragedy like the Dunham family's occurs, it forces us to reflect on the unpredictable nature of family dynamics. We often assume we know everything about those closest to us, but sometimes dark secrets or hidden struggles lie beneath the surface, waiting to explode in the most devastating ways. What could possibly lead a person to take such drastic steps, leaving behind devastation for everyone connected to them?